Hello and welcome to another episode of Niche to Necessity. My name is Taylor Zork, and today we have a very great episode called Avalanche in Action, Afeez Awowole on blockchain's real world impact. Welcome, Afeez. Thanks for joining us.
It's a great pleasure, Taylor. Thanks for having me.
Well, so I just would love to get started by having you share a little bit about your background and your role as head of technical accounting and digital assets at Ava Labs.
All right. Yeah. So my background, quite an interesting one. It's one I often call the as a data accountant background because I didn't set out to be an accountant. I studied biological sciences, zoology specifically, and then I majored in genetics. So I didn't plan or set out to do all of this looking back 17, 18, 19 years ago. Now, but then when I graduated, I got into banking. All right, that's actually where I started. And that kind of exposed me to maybe finance and accounting a little bit. And then I picked up a job at KPMG. For the first 4 years, I was pretty much doing just audit stuff, audit and assurance. And after that, I got into really technical stuff because I always had affinity for this, L&D stuff, just teaching folks accounting and assurance stuff. I did that. I got into BPE at KPMG, worked regionally. And I was with KPMG up until a while, and then I moved into EY, did really similar stuff, and then for Meta. So Meta is where I really got into crypto. Again, it wasn't planned. I joined Meta, and then we were starting out Libra. I jumped on ship, and it turned out to be a really great experience. And from Meta then to Ava Labs, and here I am. And I've also recently started up my own practice, my own consultancy, which is focused on Web3 accounting advisory and more like fractional CFO kind of stuff. So that is to allow me, because I believe there's a whole lot we can do for this Web3 ecosystem from an accounting and finance standpoint. So that allows me to have more latitude and more flexibility in just working with the community altogether. There's a lot of stuff we're doing for public benefit collaboration. I know you wrote a book. I worked on a couple of international papers and all that. So, you just have the bandwidth and the flexibility to do a lot of stuff without having to check whether it's conflict on this side or conflict on the other side. So we're looking to scale that practice as well. So that's my background and where we are. Thank you.
That's very cool. Yeah, very interesting stuff. I mean, it's like you took the roundabout way to accountancy, and it gives you different perspectives on the field, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like I said, a science background, so and I really loved physics and chemistry, all this kind of stuff. And whenever I'm just trying to go through accounting, it's like I'm just looking through physics. That's what it seems like to me. So it really aids my understanding. I think my science background has been really helpful in me just navigating complexities around accounting. Yeah.
Totally, yeah. You need a curious mind, especially if you're working in crypto. And I think that having that kind of academic focus on it allows you to be agile, like you're talking about with this new practice, to be able to kind of go in different realms and learn new protocols and things like that. So, very cool. So today we're focused on the Avalanche and its ecosystem. Given your expertise, can you provide a little bit of an overview on Avalanche's mission and its significance in the blockchain space?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Avalanche is mission critical. We are focused on building infrastructure for the digital economy. And when I say we, it's actually important that I clarify this now. I mean myself and as a representative, as a participant in the Avalanche ecosystem. I don't mean maybe Ava Labs or Foundation. I just mean people generally that are actively involved in the Avalanche ecosystem, trying to build it, trying to push it, and the likes. And I also like to add that, whatever I say, anything I say on this is just, it represents my view alone. It doesn't represent the view of my employers, those that I consult with or the Avalanche community itself, just my views. So Avalanche is, like I said, is mission critical. We focus on building infrastructure for the digital economy, and something that is scalable, it's secure, it's fast, it's ultra fast, talking about tens of thousands of transactions per second, and it's secure and low fees because that's very important, and also environmental friendly. So institutions, enterprises, even consumers, they need something that works. The internet has brought us this far. We've had very different form of technologies in the past, and what Avalanche is building is just the core critical infrastructure that delivers the next generation, or even the current what we're currently experiencing, of how to build, how to move fast, and how to scale. Because our mission is, bring digitize all the world assets. We are very coming on chain is a business imperative, whether it's a small business, whether it's a big. We're actually even seeing small businesses come on chain faster, than big businesses. So it is that's wave, that movement that we're focused on. Yeah, on chain is a huge imperative.
I love that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've used Avalanche before, and it's the settlement times are extremely fast, and
Yeah,
it's a great chain for those types of things. And I think that like what you're talking about with speed, security, reliability, it's yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
High throughput, low latency, ultra fast. Just think about the best things in blockchain technology, and Avalanche has got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of headlines recently about Avalanche bringing assets on chain. Um, Now, from an accounting standpoint, how does putting an asset, whether it's a sports collectible or a deed or various different types of assets, right? We can have a number of different assets. How does that alter the way that you measure, recognize, and audit it on the balance sheet?
Right. So it depends on what is being tokenized on chain, what is being brought on chain. Okay, because you could have a whole, well, out of it, you could have a real world asset. You could say you have a building of X number of rooms, say 10 number of rooms. Okay, but could actually just be tokenizing just one room on chain. Okay, but again, you could bring the entire building on chain, and you could also bring the building and the land on chain. Okay, so when you're talking about tokenization and impact accounting, you really need to understand what exactly is being brought on chain. It because tokenization is you're representing a real world asset, whether physical or digital, and representing that asset on chain. And the price of what is on chain tracks the value of the real world asset, right? So we need to go through first, what are the rights that what is being tokenized brings on board, and what obligations are associated with that. So you need to do you have a right of access, your right of use, the ownership rights, and when you talk ownership as well, the legal owner, may be different from the accounting owner. This is a very very common challenge in the Web3 industry, right? So those are the kind of things that we kind of assess. The rights that what is being tokenized conveys upon the holder. And what kind of obligations are there? Restrictions on use? Are there restrictions on transfer? Are there legacy royalty rights, for example, or other residual interest that could be deemed as an obligation, also a form of other rights on the asset. And of course, you also need to think about not going into the proper. You need to think about valuation. I talked about what is being represented on chain needs to track the value of the assets in the real world. So valuation and the obligations that are associated with that, and a couple of other stuff. But it's also very important to verify that the asset exists. Uh, Blockchain is borderless, so I could be anywhere in the world seeing an asset on chain, want to interact with it, but then it could be defied of the world. How do I actually verify that asset exists before entering into the deal or getting a share or whatever, and recognizing it on my balance sheet as an asset? So confirming the existence is also equally important. We could go into this long and long and long and talk about it for like the whole hour. But those are the kind of basic things you should look out for. The kind of rights and obligations and what exactly is being represented on chain.
I think you said it really greatly. I think that when I teach people about this stuff, I tell them to kind of just like forget that it's blockchain, forget that it's crypto. What is it that we're trying to put on the balance sheet? And if it's a building, like let's use the rules that exist for a building. Again, you make a great point. Do you have a legal right to that building, or is it just can you actually verify that it exists? Like, or are you just buying like a picture of a building, right? But if you can
Yeah,
verify that the building it does actually exist, the rights to that building in that jurisdiction can exist on chain. And now that you own that asset, okay, we're going to treat it as if it's a building, right? There might be some subtle changes in how we disclose it on the balance sheet or things like that. We might have just additional disclosures that highlight that it's a tokenized version of that asset. But
yeah,
we're going to look through to what the underlying asset that it's representing is and apply accounting treatment to it in that way. And I think that the best way to kind of like, I think, demystify this whole industry is to say, okay, what's actually happening? Let's forget that it's crypto, or let's forget that it's on chain, and just look at what the true asset is. And I think that that's a really good. You put that really well.
Exactly. What exactly are we doing?
Yeah.
What's yeah. I like
Um.
what about is it a picture of the building or the building itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of misconception about what it would be tokenized and what is being tokenized, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a classic example.
Exactly. And I think you also need the local buy-in. If you're doing things like real assets, you need the local buy-in of the local jurisdictions, because I can say that I'm going to put a building on chain, but if the local jurisdiction doesn't recognize that as a way to transfer ownership, then there's no legal right to it as well. And so I think all of these things are important considerations. But it leads me into some of the actual like developments that I'm seeing. So we were talking about buildings, but we were also talking about digital collectibles. I know
Yeah.
FIFA recently selected Avalanche to power its dedicated blockchain for Web3's initiatives. And I know that they do some NFT projects, but they also do other types of stuff. Can you elaborate on this partnership and its objectives?
Yeah, that's a big one. That's one of the biggest news that came out of the Avalanche Summit in London in May, right? Now, because that partnership was announced there, and what FIFA is doing is, there's this unique concept to Avalanche where Avalanche, think of Avalanche like, and I use a house or property as examples in this space really because people are able to relate with that. Think of Avalanche as a house with unlimited rooms. Now the unlimited rooms are the L rooms. It's itself an L1, but then that's what I say, it can scale infinitely. Like you can build as many L1s as you want on it. So what we're finding is that businesses, enterprises, they are not looking to build down network from scratch. You can deploy, some say 15 minutes, depending on, the congestion on the network. Some say maybe that's 20 minutes. But I think the fastest we've seen is just a bit under 15 minutes. You can deploy a whole new blockchain, say Taylor blockchain, or Taylor L1 on Avalanche in just about that time. And what FIFA has done is now deploy their own FIFA blockchain. They were on a different chain before. We all knew that. But there's something that FIFA is looking for, especially as we approach that World Cup 2026. They're looking for a network that is fast. Okay, there are billions of people globally transacting or doing one thing or the other with FIFA, whether you're watching the football or trying to purchase tickets, wearables, collectibles, or doing something when as FIFA World Cup approaches, or even when games are being played. So what FIFA is looking is a network that can support all of that. A network that is fast, low fees for users, that is scalable because there's going to be a whole lot going on. And what we've seen here is just FIFA bringing in FIFA Collects and a few other initiatives onward, but there's going to be more and more and it's not just for countries, okay, or jurisdictions, it's also for clubs. So there's going to be a lot more activities. So FIFA has adopted Avalanche as a network that they can trust, a network that they believe is secure, that's scalable, fast, customizable as well, and something that's ready to serve them for their needs, in able to support the fans. And this brings a lot of legitimacy to the future of Web3 altogether, because FIFA is the biggest and the most renowned sports organization in the world. I say you're coming on chain and trying to do something big for fans globally. So it's a huge development.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, coming down the same path, they chose Avalanche for specific reasons. Can we get into a little bit more of the specifics of like what is it about Avalanche that made it such an attractive place for FIFA to build this out?
Yeah, there are a couple of technical advantages that we can discuss in this regard. Okay, I mentioned about the sub-second transaction finality, right? And maybe I can drive this home a little better using a personal experience. Okay, I my first experience at the World Cup. Now I was Russia 2018. Now I had to get tickets maybe about 6, 7 months before then, or even way long before then. And I remember there's a virtual queue. You know, I remember being on that virtual queue for at least 6 hours. Okay, yeah, you're gonna go jump on the queue, want to get tickets for certain games, and then of course you're not gonna sit by a computer or your phone for 6 hours. You're gonna be doing other things on the side, and then you go to the page, but maybe you've been it's refreshed, you've been logged out or you timed out, and then you're gonna start all over again, and then you go to back up the queue. And these are some of the challenges that we have. So by the time I was then getting tickets for Qatar 2022, I had that expectation that okay, this could take the whole day, yeah, and that is one of the benefits or one of the challenges that Avalanche solves in the form of a benefit now that FIFA is on chain, because we have sub-second transaction finality. We're processing tens of thousands of transactions in a second. So even in a minute, hundreds of thousands of tickets purchases or fan engagement will have gone through, super fast. So that's one of the technical advantages that we have there. And of course, minimum fees, and even this, the certain upgrades that have come through Avalanche lately, that fees have been slashed by as much as 96%. No. So we're like, if people are going to be, if we want people to adopt this technology, if we want people to come on chain, if we want enterprises, institutions, public sector, governments, whatever it is, if we want them to come on chain, it needs to be attractive. Okay. And that's one of the barriers to entry is the high fees of using blockchain. So we slash fees by about 96% and all that. And of course, the resilience to network congestion, going by the example I gave, one of the reasons you'll be on a virtual queue for 6+ hours is network congestion. Yeah, and Avalanche scales, unlimited in an unlimited manner. So these are some of the technical challenges that FIFA had experienced or they know, they've seen, okay, and they want to sort. So Avalanche provides an ideal infrastructure to be able to tackle all of this and provide fans with a better experience. And of course, there are also things about the collectibles. We're bringing so many things. Like the wearables as they're being called now. We're bringing so many things on just to engage and improve fan experience. So there's a whole lot to this. Yeah.
So one last question about this kind of this collaboration, because I think it's a really interesting one. How would you say that it enhances the digital fan experiences, and what do you think this signifies for the future of sports and blockchain integration? Because it seems like FIFA seems to be on like the cutting edge of a lot of these technological advancements, and how do you see this enhancing that experience for fans?
What this collaboration does is that it's going to revolutionize the digital fan experiences by, I talked about no delays, no network congestion, no staying on virtual queues for hours, but it's also going to enable ownership of digital collectibles, and then enhance the interactive participation in games and other potential future applications such as blockchain based ticketing and a whole lot of other things. I'll give an example of one of the things we've seen of FIFA Collect. Okay, FIFA Collect is one of the early or one of the first initiatives that FIFA is bringing on this Avalanche deal. The 1970 World Cup was in Mexico. Okay, and that was the first time FIFA actually launched collectibles for fans. Okay, 1970, we're talking 55 years ago. Yeah, and I think it was called Panini or something like that. Now these things have become wearables because you can't even, some people own them, but you can't even track the owners, okay, or even find it or say, oh, if you might own one and I might not even know it. They're probably not listed online. Yeah, but what one of the things that is going to happen here is the old collective is called Panini. No, Panini is coming on chain, okay, and you're able to easily identify this as a collectible and able to engage, interact, or even own it. So these are some of the unique experiences that FIFA coming on chain is going to bring to fans. I mean, it's in addition to high speed, and the things we've discussed already. So the partnership itself is what I call a pivotal moment in the integration of blockchain technology into global sports ticketing, engaging with fans, engaging with users that want high speed experiences for transactions or platforms that have been historically known to be slow or frustrating for users. And this is a typical use case example.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that having these experiences on chain allows you to like you're saying, track the ownership of these rare collectibles from these potentially like amazing World Cups or whatever events that they have that something amazing happens at, like people are going to want to collect those things, and there's value in that. I think that being able to track, transfer, and easily sell these collectibles, it's really key, and it's going to really impact the engagement from a fan experience, because you can go to this event and come out with a proof of attendance token, or or something else that's like, no, I was there, I can prove it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to
but
collect the pop, this and the cups they used to serve drinks
oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
I just keep make sure I keep one after every game. You know,
yeah, yeah.
especially with
But
100, the countries that played and the dates. I make sure I keep one of that. But again, that's still now. There are better ways to keep memories and collectibles.
right, right, totally. Um, So another kind of thing that we've started to see people talk about, but you haven't seen as much implementation of, is the tokenization of real estate and real assets on chain. People talk about that as a huge like market for the blockchain industry to move into, but you don't actually see as much tangible movement on it until recently. There was an announcement that Bergen County in New Jersey
Yeah.
is undertaking a project to tokenize 240 billion in real estate deeds on the Avalanche network. So I'd love to get your insights on this. Like, can you provide a little bit more details on this initiative and kind of what anticipated benefits of this tokenization is, for records management, but also any challenges that might arise out of this implementation as well.
Yeah, that's another big announcement for Avalanche. We have all these partnerships and a lot of great things happening on Avalanche. Now, the Virgin deal, it's a 5-year kind of partnership between Balcony. Balcony is a DAO. Okay, so Balcony is they have their own L1 on Avalanche as well. Like I said, unlimited at once. So they have their own on Avalanche, and what they're doing is working with municipalities or counties or state governments in the United States to tokenize assets. So in this particular case, at in Bergen, which is the Bergen is the largest county in New Jersey in terms of population. Now maybe around 1 million residents thereabout. In this case, what Balcony has done is enter a 5-year partnership with the Bergen County Clerk's Office to say we're going to bring about 370,000 property deeds on chain. Now, yeah, because there's been historical legacy issues with respect to how these assets are managed, the records, the kind of systems they were built on. I know some of them are even built on COBOL. COBOL seems like the ice age now. So the redundancies, the slow, inaccurate records, and so many other things. So what this deal is going to achieve is going to bring all of this on chain, transparency, easy access to records, and easy. It eliminates a lot of bureaucracy in the process of property management or real estate management in the county, and it's a huge deal because it is not just another initiative. Okay, it is a partnership that is giving legitimacy again to blockchain, especially with public sector partnership or governments coming onto blockchain and adopting the use. We've seen instances in the past where California DMV, also an Avalanche, okay, brought 42 million vehicle licenses titles on chain. So this is another classic use case in the government sector and or in the public space, and it is just going to bring efficiencies. One of the key wins here, and which has been discussed and which we're working on, is I think to manage a property deed title and transfer and all that. Currently, it takes about 90 days. Okay, but yeah, 90 days in Bergen County. But we are actually working on reducing that to potentially just 1 day. Okay, yeah, yeah, you can say that loud. So that
Yeah.
is
Wow.
yeah, that is one of the key benefits here. And Balcony has also worked with the Orange County, and in this case, they were able to uncover about $1 million that's been lost in tax revenue. So there's I would expect there's going to be maybe similar benefits from this budgeting project as well. So there's a whole lot that's coming with respect to this partnership. Like I said, we expect that it's going to bring more transparency, more speed, more accuracy, eliminate bottlenecks, avoid bureaucracy, and just make things faster, which is what everybody wants.
Yeah, wow. That's very cool. 90 days to 1 day is insane. It's like a 90, 95+% reduction. That's really amazing. And for folks that are looking to get things done really quickly, and if you want to move, it just think about the amount of liquidity that adds to real world assets, right? We don't necessarily consider real world assets to be liquid, right? Like we have cash and cash equivalents because you can immediately convert them into value. And
Yeah,
it's really interesting to see how these initiatives are going to flip that to where, you know, if you can transfer a property in a matter of hours eventually, right? That's now a liquid asset. It's volatile, right? Because those values are not pegged, they're not as stable, right? They're going to change over time. But
yeah.
the ability to offload an asset like that
Got a
gets a lot
fleet.
of risk, or yeah, it adds a lot of utility to these different assets as well.
Yeah, yeah. And talking about utility, I think one of the other big advantage to bringing this project on Avalanche is the elimination or the reduction in the risk to ransomware. I probably could say elimination because it's quite a secure platform. But in 2023, I think about 23 municipalities in New Jersey were subject to ransomware,
Mhm.
attacks. And in some instances, some of these paid, they incurred huge financial losses, in terms of having to address this and just resolve the whole issue. So this role also kind of takes away that's kind of a complexity or challenge that the municipality and the county have always had.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. So, how does this project influence the adoption of blockchain in the public sector? Applications, and what does it mean for the future of real estate transactions?
Yeah, like I said, if you're seeing government or public sector, interacting with blockchain and saying, oh, we're bringing nearly 400,000 because I believe by the end of the 5-year partnership, they're gonna be more aspects or more buildings and everything. So you're gonna just go on and on and on and on. Yeah, if you're seeing a county, and by the way, this is the biggest, it's worth $240 billion. So to date, in the history of blockchain technology, this is the biggest tokenization project, right? Biggest real estate tokenization project. So what is going to do, and it's not coming from enterprises or private institutions, right? It's coming from the government, the county government sector in the United States. What it's going to do is, I believe, is going to just inspire more confidence, in people that really want to jump into this space. We've seen instances of real estate deals. Last week was Dubai, and a couple of this and that globally, but this is the biggest so far. And but most of what we've seen, the more like private institutions in terms of real estate. Now we are beginning to see real engagement on the public side, and it's just going to scale confidence, and there'll be more use cases. And the more you bring these things on chain, the more benefit there, and the more you can actually scale, the more you get to understand, how to better build, how to better prepare for things that are massive. Because the trillions of dollars are going to come on chain in the next 5 to 10 years, trillions of US dollars in terms of but real estate, gaming, enterprise, DeFi, all sort of things on protocols. So when you start this way, you just building confidence. And there is one thing I personally believe, and which I also believe that a lot of active participants in this ecosystem do. We believe in organic growth. We believe in steady growth, just one step at a time. Don't rush it. Progress is really key. Okay, and it compounds just like that. Yeah, it compounds. So this is one big deal. You had the DMV deal before. Now you have funds, money market funds, and all of that on chain. We're just gonna keep and doing that, whether it's public, whether it's private, whether it's permission, whether it's permissionless. Participants is going to, especially in the blockchain ecosystem, going to continue to have more confidence that this is possible, and that the possibilities are endless and limitless. Yeah, you talked about challenges earlier. I think I kind of skipped my response to that because we were thinking about a few other things. I think one of the biggest challenges to this is going to be data migration. A lot of all of this is on paper or paper-based records. If you want to move, 370,000 leads on chain, there's going to be a huge challenge to that. So data migration is going to be a bit of a complexity, and change management as well. When people hear blockchain, okay, they kind of think, oh, how am I going to do it? No. Okay, I think one thing is to kind of really manage the expectation. you as a property owner, and then your property has been, the deed to your property has been tokenized or represented on the blockchain, does not mean necessarily have to interact with the blockchain. Okay, you leave that to the people who are doing the blockchain stuff, or who own the L1. You just know that your access, whatever it is you want to do, you want to transfer property, you want to sell, you want to do this or that, it's going to be easier, it's going to be faster, it's going to be more accessible, there's going to be more transparency. But on the side of the staff of the county as well, there needs to be training on for them to know how to use this, how to deploy it, how to make it beneficial to the residents of the county. So I believe the two biggest challenges would be data migration and then change management. And of course, because there are different municipalities, okay, in this county, and I think maybe some of them have different rules or different legal frameworks. So interpreting those legal requirements and trying to understand what legal requirements needs to be satisfied or fulfilled for bringing an asset or a property deed on chain is also going to be really critical to making this a successful project. But we're backing it, and we know it's possible.
Yeah, I think one other challenge that I'm seeing that I haven't really heard talked about much is, you know, what happens when inevitably at some point someone's wallet gets hacked and then these on-chain assets get transferred to someone else, right? Obviously in the legal, like at the county level,
Yeah,
they may not necessarily recognize that as a transfer of that asset, but now the digital assets are now in someone else's wallet and no longer in the original owner's possession. And so I'm kind of curious to see, I don't think there's a solution for it yet because we haven't had that problem yet, but I think we will eventually have that problem where we see people get scammed or phished or whatever all the time, or you just accidentally send it to the wrong address through an address poisoning attack or something like that. And so I'm curious as to see how governments roll this out, because my only concern with assets going on chain is that you either have where someone could lose that asset because their account their hardware wallet gets hacked, or someone gets access to their hardware wallet or their hot wallet and those assets get transferred, or we're saying, hey, this government's going to have centralized control and last authority, and so that transfer may be invalidated. So you know what I mean? So I think that's the only thing that I'm curious to see how it shakes out. With any new technology, there's going to be these problems that we haven't foreseen yet, and I think that's one of the ones that's a big question mark for me, is like, how is that going to work if those assets are compromised on chain, and the government either needs to step in or just say that those assets are no longer that person's. And I can't imagine someone losing a building because they lost their tokenized asset on chain.
yeah.
So I'm curious as to your thoughts on that. I know we didn't talk about this question before, but it just came up in my mind, and I think that like it's an interesting one, and I think it's a big challenge.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I would like to say there is that no platform is hack proof or manipulation proof. No, whether it's digital, whether it's physical, whether it's on chain, there's always but some are more secure than other. And we pride ourselves. Avalanche has been around for a long time and it's secure. No hack, no issue with that whatsoever. Yeah, so we kind of really believe, and this is my association as well, that if you're putting assets on chain, we have, BlackRock fund, for example, build a fund on Avalanche. We have Franklin Templeton. We have a lot of tokenized or asset-backed securities on Avalanche, and that's all of this are doing well. We have DeFi protocols on Avalanche. So there's a whole lot going on, and they're running smoothly. But again, you're not saying things can go wrong. Yeah, but if things do go wrong, I think in what you've just described, I think one of the first things to kind of really look at is what exactly was represented on chain that was stolen or hacked or manipulated. I lose again, legal framework comes into consideration here. So, well, just talking from an accounting lens. Okay, if I lose access or my right of ownership or whatever it is to something that's tokenized on chain, does that necessarily mean, or does that translate to mean losing the physical ownership of that asset in the real world? Legal to risk, correct? Yeah, but in this case, when we're talking about this budging deal, what is actually happening is that it is not I as an asset owner that's tokenizing the property deed. bear in mind, we say we have to look through what is being tokenized. What is being tokenized is a property deed. Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So if someone hasn't, so if someone hasn't sold it, it still would say your name on it. It would still,
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
have access to it, but it would be pointless access because
Yeah.
now that asset would be invalidated because the transfer never happened in the records of the town.
Something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the government that's tokenized or brought on chain the property deed, not the assets
Uh,
or
right.
or the
If I lose my paper deed
yeah.
and steals it, it's like they don't own that property now. They just have my deed, and there's no, unless they forge the document, which on chain wouldn't be possible, right? Um, so okay,
But it's a really interesting situation because on-chain have to communicate to off-chain and off-chain have to communicate to on-chain as long as the asset is in the real world and then there's a tokenized version of whatever it is or it represents on-chain. They have to communicate to each other. If
right,
if there is a disparity, then there's a problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Okay, that's a great answer. I know that I threw that at you out of left field, but I think it's a great answer, and I just hadn't thought about that process where it's like,
Yeah.
okay, because hacks happen, and it's not the blockchain's fault. It's the user's fault 99% of the time.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting kind of scenario.
Although, and this is one of the many reasons why I just enjoy this space. The different questions they make you think about. They make you think about what is possible and how to really solve for everyday complexities in this space. And
Mhm.
that's just one example you just. So I really love talking about things like this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think I imagine because a lot of the early ethos of blockchain was about like self custody, and I think that the ability to self custody is extremely important. However, when you're talking about massive asset holdings and things like that, or like uh, on chain founders that get insanely rich, I think that there is also a place for custodying assets with third parties because we're seeing all around the globe now CEOs of major crypto companies getting targeted with, we call them wrench attacks, but basically like, being held hostage to be able to give over their keys. And so this is by no means me saying that I don't think self custody is important. I think it's critically important to the network, and I think the ability to self custody is like paramount to blockchain. However, when you starting to talk about real world assets, you're starting to talk about big money. It's really important to have options, and I imagine things like big real world asset portfolios, real estate portfolios that are on chain. There's going to be a service eventually that manages those assets for you and by custodying them
Yeah.
on your behalf. And I think that just because those solutions haven't been popularized yet, I think that that's the direction we're going to go to for a lot of these kind of high ticket assets that are being held on chain as well.
That's problem. Yeah.
Uh, but just kind of going beyond these high profile projects, what are some other real world applications that Avalanche is involved in these days?
Oh, there's lots of them. Okay, we're actively engaged in several other reward stuff across various sectors. We have private sector, we have public sector, and for different use cases, their permission. Because one of the challenges people or institutions have when coming on chain is, so blockchain is open, but I want things to be confidential, especially if it's like a financial institution or if it's a regulated entity, for example. So they are permission that are developed, really we've layered in really useful privacy features into Ava Cloud, for example, which is a product of Ava Labs that is built on Avalanche. And all these have stuff. Sometimes they get a bit tricky when you're seeing them back to back. So there's so many uses. Gaming is one. Okay, Avalanche is big on gaming. We have off the grid Gonzalo game now, which is really cool. And we also have Maple Story Universe, which is gaming, and Maple Story is also big on collectibles. Digital collectibles in the gaming world. So gaming is a big one. I talked about DeFi earlier, the DeFi platforms, which are built on Avalanche. There's yield farming, and so many other stuff that's going on Avalanche. There's a couple of stablecoin projects as well. Okay, yeah, and there's more coming. In fact, we have the Wyoming Stablecoin Commission. They're launching their stablecoin as well. Avalanche is one of the platforms that they selected. That's another government project. So there's many real world use cases that we can talk about. There's also identity verification, which Deloitte uses on behalf of the US government for disaster management relief. That's also on Avalanche. And there's many enterprise use cases. Talk about money market funds, Franco Templeton, uh, BlackRock. There's the JP Morgan Onyx project. There's so much going on. So what are you talking about? Arts, NFTs, culture, gaming, enterprise use cases, identity verification, government use. There's a whole lot going on. Yeah.
And you basically touched on there, but is there any, I know that you can't talk about certain things that are in the works and maybe not kind of public yet, but are there any developments we can expect from Avalanche in the near future? From a public sector adoption standpoint or enterprise adoption standpoint? Uh,
Yeah. I know our BD teams are busy. Okay, they're busy constantly, trying to build and trying to bring people or institutions and all that they're going to build on Avalanche, and that's why you have all these, huge announcements. FIFA, MapleStory, Games, Virgin, BlackRock, all these big names on Avalanche. So there's we're only just getting started. Okay, like I said earlier, we believe in progress because we believe in just going steady and just one day at a time, one project at a time, getting this right. Avalanche is not about noise, or just hype. We believe in just building and building real world value, building for real world use cases, building in a way that solves real world problems. In a way, the question at the back of my mind, uh, when I'm talking to our product teams, okay, when I'm trying to evaluate, accounting stuff, because that's my core day job, right? Is what exactly are we building? What exactly are we solving? And this product that you're about to launch or this thing you're bringing on board, how exactly does it solve a problem in the real world? And I'll also I think right now there's at least $250 million of grants available across the Avalanche ecosystem, and I've been very much involved in that, in terms of grant administration, monitoring grants, and just understanding what projects are being brought on board, how much grants how much grants they can disperse to them, and things like that. And I tell you for a fact, there's so many things. Okay, some things might, because you need to see that you're going to be building something that is worthy and valuable to people to come on chain before the grants are dispersed or administered. But there are so many conversations going on right now that's, it's in another 1 or 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a lot more value. And the whole mission of digitize all the world assets is going to become even more meaningful. So there's a lot coming. I know that for sure.
yeah. Okay, awesome. Um,
Even on the AI side, okay, because that is very important to talk about as well. Yeah, I think Avalanche is also going big on just exploring AI at the intersection of blockchain, and there's another dedicated fund for that as well.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Um, so you've been a professional in the space for a few years now. For other accounting professionals that are looking to enter Web3,
Hmm.
um, what advice would you give them? What advice would you tell them, getting started about diving into different ecosystems and just like getting their feet wet in Web3?
Right. I think the first thing is be blockchain literate, okay? Because if you don't understand it, you can't figure it out. You can't thrive in it. Okay. Uh, and being blockchain literate means doing a lot at your own time. Okay. I'm self-taught. Most of the things I know in this space is self-taught. Just rolling on my sleeves, talking to people. I read your book, for example. Yeah, with your Brian. Yeah, talking to people. Doing my own research. And I got into this space about 5, 6 years ago. There's barely anything out there on accounting for digital assets. I think the only thing we had, which was maybe close to being authoritative, was just an IFRS interpretations committee on cryptocurrencies, and they basically just said, look to IS2 or look to IS38 and leave us alone. Yeah. And about here we are building world-class payment solutions, coming up with stablecoin projects, coming up with all sorts of things and saying, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna account for this somehow. So you have to have an open mind, an inquisitive mind, and a mind that has the notion that you can do this, you can figure this out. Is very, very important. But not everyone, different people with different skill set. Okay, not everyone will have the skill or the skill to look through what does this asset represent. What is this? What is that? What classification can I put it into? What buckets can I push this into? So I'll just say, just be blockchain literate. Okay, try to understand what are smart contracts, what are digital assets, what kind of classes of this do we have? What do they represent? We talked a lot about tokenization and rights and obligations. You probably won't figure it out in a day. It's still taking us a lot of journey, even though we've come on this journey, long already. But be open to learning. Or try to understand the space, understand the peculiarities of Web3. There's a lot of misconception in this space, a lot of myths, a lot of misconception. Some people don't even pretty much understand that the blockchain itself is different from the crypto. Okay. And I try to just look away completely from the crypto and just focus on the blockchain because that is what you're building on. That is what brings reward value. So try to understand that. And I say also network and communicate. I've been interacting with you for years, but we only met in person just a couple of weeks ago. But there's been a lot of value built in that interaction. And it's the same for a lot of my network in this industry. So, network, try and connect. There are a couple of accounting communities now in Web3. Try and belong to one or two, talk to people, just get things going. It's really, really important because you can't figure it out all alone. You can't. So many, a lot of interpretations, a lot of diversity in practice exist in this industry. So if you're coming in here, you need to have that network to talk to people, bounce things off them, process your views and opinions, and just kind of really gauge what is going on out there. Yeah, that's my two
That's
cents.
good advice. I love that. What would you say are some ways that accountants that are making that switch and are doing the things that you're talking about, how can they approach the integration into traditional financial systems? So like fit the Web3 aspect into a Web2 organization or a Web2 organization that's looking to move into Web3. How do we bridge those gaps and make it so that it's as painless as a transition as possible while also satisfying the needs of TradFi?
Great question. It's a bit tricky, okay, and probably connects back to what I said. I just have an open mind, be inquisitive, and try to understand what is going on. If you don't understand it, and this is how I work, okay. Before I try to provide solution to anything, first I understand. Because if I don't understand it, I'm really going to struggle giving you the best advice or try to work with you on what you're trying to achieve. So for account that trying to bridge all of this, I say open your mind, understand it. Okay. And particularly in this space, auditability is a concept, whether it's Web2, whether it's Web3, whether it's TradFi, whether it's DeFi, auditability is a concept. Okay. And excuse me, while you might have auditability, audits and assurance has been long proven in Web2 or whatever case we had up until blockchain came along. But in Web3, and when it comes to blockchain, okay, it is a continuous concept. Okay. Yeah, because data is huge. Everything is different. The kind of your MO, your modus operandi on how you get things done Web2, we're not cut it here. Okay, so you need to have compliance at the back of your mind, auditability, traceability, and making sure that transactions are audited, are auditable, and they are presented in a way that you understand it. And don't you ever try to say, "Oh, I'm going to come back to that tomorrow." Yeah, you can't come back to it tomorrow, but don't leave it for too long because it's gonna just blow your mind and come back to you're probably gonna struggle. And this is one of the reasons why I'm a big fan or a big advocate of tooling. Okay, yeah, if in small businesses or Web2, little kind of solutions or maybe spreadsheet and then we cut it for you. But in Web3, okay, trying to do things manually is a disaster, is a recipe for disaster. It's definitely gonna go wrong. There's no two ways about it. It will go wrong if you try to do a lot of things manually. So automate what you can, patch them all through tools and, just manually work on the exceptions. There will be exceptions, no doubt, because no tool out there is perfect. Some are good on this, maybe not so good on this. Some are good on that, maybe not so good on this. So whatever tool you have, there will always be things that will fall through the cracks or exceptions. And those are the kind of areas where you should only be doing manual work. So that's my view on that.
Yeah, I love
I
that.
hope that answers your questions.
What's that?
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so as we kind of come to the conclusion, are there any final thoughts on the evolution of blockchain technology and its integration into mainstream industries that you'd like to share with our listeners?
That blockchain technology is something that has come and it has come to stay. Okay. it has survived, a lot of regulatory pushback, a lot of, traditional or legacy and institutional pushback. It survived, the bad actors, there are bad actors everywhere, and it keeps getting strong. Okay. And I believe, it is a pivotal moment in how we're building decentralized value management systems. That's how I like to call it, because what we're doing is actually, taking out barriers, and just making sure that you're able to transact and transfer value in a way that is seamless, more efficient, faster, and with less fees or less cost. So this has come to stay, and it's only continue to grow. And what we've seen, whether it's Avalanche, I've seen a couple. Okay, whether it's Avalanche, whether it's another chain, whether it's another network, there's a whole lot coming on, and this is a pivotal moment where we have the opportunity to redefine what the digital economy and digital infrastructure means for the next generation. So all hands on deck and all on board.
I love it. I love it. Lastly, where can listeners learn more about Avalanche and you yourself over at Ava Labs to stay in on projects and what you're up to?
Yeah, I'll say LinkedIn is my playground. Okay, I'm active on X as well, but I just consume on X. Okay, because if you're in this space, you need to see what's going on. That's where most active players are, or most of the leaders in the industry. So I consume a lot on X. But in terms of engagement, LinkedIn is my playground. And our BD marketing and social teams, they also have every presence on YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. So people can reach out to them. I'm sure they'll be more than willing to engage or answer questions. And there's also the Avalanche Academy. So you go to the avast.network. There's an academy there, whether it's a beginner or it's advanced. So whether you're just trying to find out what a smart contract is or actually looking to code, yeah, there's tons of stuff there for free at Avalanche Academy. And Blogspot, nearly everything we've discussed, from FIFA to Virgin to BlackRock Builder to all these tokenized funds. With every big announcement on Avalanche comes an update to the Blogspot. So there's tons of information out there that people can sift through. But the best place to reach me is LinkedIn for sure.
Awesome. Well, Afeez, is great chatting with you, and it was great meeting you finally after years of interacting on LinkedIn and things like that, and having you.
And I was quite opportunistic there because I didn't know you were gonna be at that Bitwave event. Now,
Yeah, it was a great surprise to see you there. I mean, I figured you'd be there, but it was great to finally meet you, and a pleasure to have you on here. And you know, I've been on Avalanche a bit in the past, but I'm glad to have my eyes opened a little bit more by the developments and the experience that you have there as well. So I really appreciate you bringing that knowledge to us.
That's really welcome, and thanks for having me. And I know a lot of what I said, I even have limited visibility into what's going on. Maybe the engineers or the BD teams, will probably be able to, or maybe people on the foundation side, which is the people that are actually pushing adoption. They might be able to share 10 times more insight as to what I share. What I should just be done. The nature of my job, what I discuss with people, what I know, and what is publicly out there. But mainly from an less accounting standpoint. No, but it's been great having this and talking through this. Yeah, thanks for
Well,
having.
I love your humility. I feel like you shared a lot with us, and I appreciate it, and hopefully talk to you again soon.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me again. Okay, and hopefully we'll talk soon again. Yeah, and all the best to crypto CFOs.